This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Fighting has continued for a second day in northern Lebanon between supporters of the government and a group aligned to the opposition. At least 9 people have been killed and 49 injured in the port city of Tripoli, from where Zaina Khoda now reports.
This is a front line. As you can see behind me, the area is deserted. We can't even cross this street because of sniper fire.
Day 2. Armed men in the narrow alleyways of the streets of Dajani neighborhood. Fierce clashes between supporters of the government and the opposition continue as political contacts try to put an end to the fighting. A young boy runs for his life, trying to escape sniper fire. Mahmoud is a fighter, but also a resident of this area. He wanted to show us how his home was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. No one was home at the time. Fighters from both sides, just a few hundred meters apart. This is Jebel Mohsen, the base of the Alawite community's Arab Democratic Party, a group allied to the opposition. And although there is historical animosity between the Alawites and the Sunnis, even Mahmoud, who has lost family members in the previous wars, says this time around the conflict is political. The clashes have taken its toll on the lives of people. This used to be a sprawling marketplace. This woman has to throw away all...
Well, we'll leave Zaina Khoda's report there to go straight to her because there is continuing violence there. Zaina, tell us what's happening.
Get it. Okay, don't worry, okay.
Zaina Khoda, it's Laura in the studio. If you can hear me and if it's safe enough to talk, just tell us what's happening there.
If you can see the smoke there, a rocket-propelled grenade just landed there. Apparently, it's coming from the opposition side. Behind us, the gunfire that you're hearing to my right are the pro-government supporters. Now, some of the heaviest clashes taking place now. We have to bear in mind that at 4 o'clock local time, right now, a ceasefire was to have taken effect. It seems that that ceasefire will not take effect any longer, at least for the time being. For the past 10 minutes or so, a lot of machine gun fire and rocket-propelled grenades landing in that area. Now, I have to explain something here. That area is really outside the battlefield. For the past 2 days, the battlefield has been to my left. Now, those rocket-propelled grenades landing outside may be a sign that the situation could be spreading outside the perimeters of Dajani. Is that another rocket-propelled grenade that landed?
The issue of the Sheb'a farms is still contested, but latest events indicate that they might be liberated and placed under a UN mandate. What is the story behind these farms, and will they be the last chapter of the Israeli occupation in Lebanon? Zareen Al-Hilwi provided us with the following report.
The issue of the Sheb'a farms took central stage both at the local and international levels. Dynamic events pertaining to this issue have been taking place in the past few days. Citizens are wondering which path should be taken to resolve this issue. Will putting the Sheb'a farms under the mandate of the UN end the big conflict about its identity? Who will benefit and who will lose? And which country will have sovereignty over the Sheb'a farms?
The farms will not be under the mandate of the UN unless there is an agreement with the Lebanese government. This will be a temporary stage. Instead of creating problems and a war with the Israelis, which may still not help us get the farms back, let us go on with the first stage. Let us get the Israelis out of these farms, and I don't think this will be easy. If they leave, they will have many conditions, most importantly, conditions pertaining to water. Israel does not want to touch the water, because if anyone touches the water, this means that Israel's existence is threatened. Each side will look after their own interests. Hezbollah wants to look after its interests, Israel wants to look after its interests, and Syria will do the same. Today, the news headline in Al-Sharq Al-Awsat newspaper read, "They will resolve the Israeli problem with Sheb'a, but in exchange for what?" The Syrians want to solve the problem of the Sheb'a farms on our backs. They took it from us and now they want to resolve the issue on our back. Even if the Sheb'a farms and all the other farms along the borders are liberated, Hezbollah will still want to resist the Israelis. The final objective of Hezbollah is not to liberate the Sheb'a farms and the Lebanese borders. Hezbollah's objective is religious in nature, jihad for God's sake, which means the liberation of Jerusalem.
إذن تحرير القدس.
شبعة أم العقد أو تلك الأزمة المستفحلة منذ ما بعد التحرير.
The Sheb'a farms are the biggest problem since the liberation of South Lebanon. It is one of the most important and strategic problems in the region. The map of Greater Lebanon, which was established in 1920, shows that the farms were Lebanese, but it was later added to Syrian maps.
لتضاف إلى الخرائط السورية تباعاً.
The Syrians want to reach an agreement with Israel using Lebanon. This is the objective. The agreement means that one country is governed by one or two countries. In the past, the Israelis and the Syrians controlled Lebanon, each one from one side.
While waiting for a solution to the Sheb'a farms, the question remains, can one say that liberating the Sheb'a farms will end the Israeli occupation from the perspective of Lebanon?
Jerusalem is destined to become the capital of two states, Israel and Palestine. As for the settlements, checkpoints, and the Gaza siege, they obstruct peace. This is some of what French President Nicolas Sarkozy said during his visit to the occupied Palestinian territories, which started yesterday. Sarkozy was a guest at the Israeli Knesset, where he talked about peace intensively. He did not, however, neglect his initiative to establish the Mediterranean Union Conference with Israel's participation. Reporting from occupied Jerusalem is Shuruk Assad.
French President Nicolas Sarkozy is in Israel on a trip that strengthens the French-Israeli connection after many years of tense relations in the era of former French President Chirac. Sarkozy visited the Israeli memorial of the so-called Jewish Holocaust. The trip was crowned by his speech to the Israeli Knesset.
There can be no peace without stopping settlements. There is a proposal backed by many members of your Knesset for the adoption of a law that would encourage settlers to leave the West Bank in exchange for compensation.
Israel is honored by your visit. You are a sincere friend and supporter committed to the protection and safety of Israel. Your visit to Israel on the 60th anniversary of its establishment has great implications. Also, your visit to the Holocaust Memorial and its impact, as well as your political positions, particularly against Iran.
All topics were discussed during Sarkozy's meetings with Israeli officials, Iran, Lebanon, Syria, and the Palestinians. The most prominent, however, was what the French president aims to launch on the 13th of next month, the Mediterranean Union Conference. Sarkozy hopes to gather European countries, Arab countries, and Israel. According to many people here, this is an indirect attempt to normalize relations with Israel.
Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine are all Mediterranean countries with occupied territories. Why do the Arabs have to agree to sit with Israel and normalize relations in unions like this one, while Palestinian land is still under occupation? Especially since there is an Arab initiative asking Israel for peace and the return of land in exchange for complete normalization of relations.
The main aims of Sarkozy's visit were to promote the Mediterranean Union Conference and for France, under Sarkozy, to become an influential player in the region. This explains why he talked intensively about dialogue and peace, criticizing Israeli settlement activity, the siege and the checkpoints, according to Palestinian newspapers. Sarkozy's remarks about settlements and other issues were aimed at pleasing the Palestinians and Arabs, according to most local observers, especially when these remarks are juxtaposed to the obvious French support of Israel, particularly since Sarkozy became the president of France.
وصف أبو يحيى الليبي القيادي بتنظيم القاعدة اتفاق السلام الذي توسطت فيه
The senior al-Qaeda leader, Abu Yahya al-Libi, described the UN-sponsored peace accord signed between the Somali government and some opposition leaders as useless. Al-Libi called on Islamic armed groups in Somalia to continue the fighting and not to accept anything less than an independent Islamic state, an Islamic state that doesn't recognize international legitimacy and common laws and that doesn't evolve in the Western or Eastern spheres of influence.
مهما أبرزها الإعلام في صورة خادعة خلابة وصورها على أنها المخرج.
These types of agreements, which the media is trying to portray as attractive and as the country's exit from what had been referred to as crises and civil wars, are deceiving. They are part of a large conspiracy and a hidden international plot hatched by the enemies of Islam, a conspiracy that each reasonable jihadist must be aware of. Through this conspiracy, the enemies of Islam are trying to expand their control over the land and absorb the anger of the oppressed and subjugated nations of the Muslim world. It's also a way to eradicate jihad and mujahideen in all the hotspot areas, including beloved Somalia.
في كل المناطق الساخنة والتي منها الصومال الحبيب.
Commenting on the latest developments regarding Tehran's nuclear program and its recent talks with the group of 5+1, the spokesman for the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Mohammad Ali Husseini, said that his country is studying thoroughly the international incentives offer and will announce its position at the appropriate time, and added that they shouldn't miss this opportunity.
Iran and the group of 5+1 nations are currently studying the proposals offered by both sides. There is common ground between Iran and the international powers, and this common ground will help the start of the negotiations, and we shouldn't lose this opportunity. We're currently studying thoroughly the international incentives offer, and we will announce our position at the appropriate time. Among the proposals Solana offered verbally to us, one is not to increase the number of centrifuge systems in exchange for not raising the ceiling of sanctions imposed on Iran.
Meanwhile, diplomatic sources in Brussels have expected that the European Union will move during the next few hours to impose new sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program. The sanctions are expected to target Iran's banking institutions in particular.
Palestinian citizens in Gaza expressed their dissatisfaction due to the lack of basic necessities for their daily lives after the cooling-off period between Hamas and Israel. They expressed their hope that the commercial border crossing will open to allow for basic food goods to enter. Hanan al-Masri from Gaza.
5 days have passed since the start of the cooling-off period between Hamas and Israel. Israel expressed its relief if the Palestinian side can commit to it without any violations. However, the morale of public citizens here has been destroyed by Israel's lack of commitment to its pledge regarding the clause on commercial crossings. They described the amount of goods that came in as small. Moreover, with regards to the kinds of goods that have entered, they said that most had already been available, particularly basic food necessities and some medical supplies. According to sources, about 60 trucks used to enter almost daily before the cooling-off period. This number has increased to 80, which is less than what was agreed upon. However, there are some citizens who believe that waiting carries with it hope for relief.
It is clear that there is no difference in the amount of food goods that have entered Gaza. I think that Israel will use this as a weapon to pressure the resistance movements in the Gaza Strip.
The cooling off period has only been for a couple of days. I don't think we can make any judgments after 2 days. We need to wait a little bit.
Meanwhile, fuel continues to be contained by the suffocating boycott. Until now, there has been no breakthrough in the amounts of fuel that Israel had pledged to increase.
Fuel until now is the same. We're suffering from the same problem as before.
Currently, on the ground, no solution has emerged. Goods have not been allowed to enter in a normal way. With regards to gasoline and diesel fuel, it is entering a little. The region has not yet gotten enough.
Just small amounts have entered. We haven't felt like anything new has happened. God willing, we're expecting a cooling off and that a lot of other things will help the region.
Israel is monitoring, and it will decide whether to alleviate or make life difficult for the residents here, who can do nothing but wait. According to Palestinians, only 5 days out of 10 have passed, and the Gaza commercial border crossing will return to what it was a year ago. Hanan al-Masri, Al-Arabiya, Gaza.
أهلا بكم من جديد. تواصل قوات الأمن العراقية ولليوم الرابع على التوالي.
For the fourth consecutive day, the Iraqi security forces continued to implement the military combing operation dubbed Promise of Peace. According to official pronouncements, the operation aims at making the Amara province south of Baghdad weapons-free. The Iraqi government is working to impose its control of the province.
The Promise of Peace operation began without firing one shot. According to a strategic plan, the operation aims to combat the militias in the Amara province in southern Iraq and make it a disarmed city. The plan involves arresting people who are suspected of belonging to armed groups, including citizens and government officials.
There are many local officials, whether in the local government or the security agency, who have outstanding warrants for their arrest. However, we are waiting for the courts to renew these charges and decide whether they still apply or not.
During the operation, which no one knows when it will end, dozens of suspects were arrested and light, middleweight, and heavy weapons were confiscated, as well as missiles ready for detonation. The cooperation by the residents played a large part in helping to arrest them.
All elements of the operations, preparations, and results are proceeding very well. This is due to the cooperation between the military sectors and their collective cooperation with the people of Maysan. All this positively influenced the excellent results. There is a general sense of relief amongst the citizens of Maysan, as well as the security groups and the government sectors. There have been no breaches.
The success of the operations in Amara, which is 360 kilometers away from Baghdad, paves the way for a new military campaign. This is part of a plan aimed at combing one area after the next, which officials see as essential steps in the success of the upcoming elections. It seems that Iraq is going through various operations. One is military and the other is political. And between the two, observers hope that operations aimed at reform will continue. These operations are expected to be birthed with complete ease, especially if things remain as they are, without any sudden abortions. From Madar TV, Thuhal Haddad, Abu Dhabi TV, from the Amara province, southern Iraq.
لبرنامج المدار ضحى الحداد قناة أبو ظبي من محافظة العمارة جنوب العراق.
President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad appeared on live TV to brief the nation on his government's economic plans, saying Iran stands head and shoulders above many other nations in sciences and technology. The president said the country has pulled off big gains despite sanctions and war, but that all these achievements in nanotechnology, biotechnology, aerospace and satellite industry are not enough for talented Iranians. President Ahmadinejad said the country's unstable economic expansion has been there thanks in large measure to raw material sale. He said the government has worked too hard to bring the unemployment rate below 11%. On inflation, he said one product economy is the root cause of the country's skyrocketing inflation rate. He continued his cabinet has rolled up its sleeves to curb the inflationary spiral. President Ahmadinejad then said a widening gap between the haves and the have-nots will stay in the country unless economic structures are reformed in one way or another. Tehran says there is no logic behind suspension of enrichment to produce fuel for power plants. Foreign Ministry spokesman Mohammad Ali Hosseini said Tehran's stand on the issue has not changed. Asked about Iran's proposed package, Hosseini said Tehran is waiting for an official response to his package. He added, quote, "We have mentioned several axes in our package and believe the best ground for a resumption of negotiations is emphasis on common points shared by the two packages. As for the Group 5+1 package to Iran, he said Tehran will consider the proposals and will announce its views at an appropriate time." And on Israeli boast of air show in the Mediterranean and scenario of airstrike in Iran, Hosseini said Israel is by no means in a position to threaten Iran. Hosseini said it is a hollow slogan and they do so whenever they want to transfer their internal crisis out of the regime structure.
أهلا بكم مشاهدينا الكرام. دعموا مشروعات البحث العلمي وتعزيز دور الشباب في مواجهة.
The fourth Petra Conference for Nobel Prize laureates has ended. The participants stressed the importance of supporting scientific research projects and young people's involvement in facing regional challenges. The conference was crowned with the launch of the Middle East Fund for Scientific Research. The fund aims at encouraging scientific efforts around renewable energy, water resources and irrigation, environmental issues, and technology. More in the following report.
Petra was one of the Arab states during the Roman Empire. It was a center for thought and a meeting point between the East and the West. Hundreds of years later, Petra has once again emerged to complete its international message by embracing the world leaders and Nobel Prize laureates. Petra's message was clear. The world cannot build a safe future on a splintered foundation.
My friends, the Petra conferences began in 2005. With a great sense of the dangers this region faced. And today, unprecedented dangers remain. The security environment is under siege by those who seek to perpetuate conflict and divide peoples. Extremism feeds on violence and frustration. Unstopped, such trends would threaten not only the region's stability and development, but worldwide security as well. The Middle East must move out of this threat zone. The single most important step is peace.
The participants agreed that the shockwaves resulting from the absence of peace and security spread out across vast distances. The aftershock of disasters, economic crises, hunger and violence are always on the rise, warning of uncontrollable human catastrophes. Working towards developing a fast and effective global approach to deal with this danger is needed. This was the spirit of the Petra Conference.
أتمنى إنه الناس إنه نبدأ ناخد من الناس العالميين اللي هم محاصلين على جائزة نوبل.
I really wish that we can begin to learn from international figures and Nobel Prize laureates and establish organizations in our own nation. We should not always strive towards development by going to their countries. I wish that we could establish centers here where they could participate with us as we solve our problems and develop our young people in our nation based on our own unique needs.
These problems are
too serious.
These problems are too serious and one solution is not enough. So we stress the importance of education, scientific cooperation, and information exchange as a way to deal with these issues.
The youth, who are the fastest growing population in the world, left a clear mark on the conference agenda. They are, like His Royal Highness King Abdullah II said, the future and the source of innovation.
As a Palestinian, this conference made it possible for me to express my voice, which is not heard by the international community. This was a great platform for me to communicate the Palestinian reality and tell the world about the reality of young people of Palestine and to correct the misconceptions about the Palestinian people.
The launch of the Middle East Fund for Scientific Research exceeded expectations, promising to be an umbrella for scientific research.
I think that this conference was characterized by the culture of all its participants. I was very encouraged by the young girls who were commenting and asking questions. I hope that their generation will be better than ours.
أشعر حاليا بأن الأمور تسير بشكل أفضل وأعتقد أننا إذا أردنا إحلال السلام.
This time, I do feel that things have gotten better. I think that if we want to have peace, it is important for people to understand each other's cultures and traditions. Respecting these different cultures and heritages is the foundation for peace.
The heroes of the Petra Conference discussed several important issues, including bridging the divide between the economies of developing and developed countries, the food and energy crises, progress in medicine and technology, culture and the arts, economic development, and the media as a force of change. They departed, leaving behind many questions. Has the world become less dangerous? Have these elite of thinkers succeeded in offering tangible solutions to threats to humanity? Even if the answer is no, one thing is for certain. The Petra Conference came to blow the horn of danger to the world and to remind decision makers that the time is passing by quickly and they have to acknowledge the danger of the situation before it is too late. Iman Lakour, Jordan TV, Petra.
Hi, I'm Jamal Dajani, producer of Link TV's news digest, Mosaic World News from the Middle East. After 9/11, Link TV recognized a huge gap in the coverage by the mainstream media. I started Mosaic to help fill that gap. The idea was simple: show Americans the real images of war from the inside out, from the viewpoint of the communities who experienced the war firsthand. You would think that we'd have a lot of competition, but in fact we don't. Because to make something like Mosaic, an unedited news digest for the most troubled region in the world, you need one essential element: independence. Independence from sponsors that may profit from this war, independence from government funding that supports this war. That's why it could only happen at Link TV. We are independent media. Now I'm asking you to make a commitment to independent media. Support Mosaic and Link TV's independence by making a donation today. Just call the number on your screen, 1-866-485-8848, or go to linktv.org and make that donation online. Any amount from $5 to $5,000 keeps this network going. Nowadays, you can also catch my analysis and videos on Ariana's Huffington's blog site, The Huffington Post. Just search under Jamal Dajani. But even with all that great exposure, we still need your help to continue to make the only news digest of its kind with real uncensored images and stories. I have made more than 1,600 episodes of Mosaic and never had to censor anything because of threats from the administration or corporate underwriters. This kind of editorial freedom is almost an anomaly in this day and age. Call 1-866-485-8848 or log on to linktv.org now to keep Mosaic and Link TV the way it should be: real, uncensored, and honest. While you're online, why not check out our archived episodes? They're all there, available to you, completely free of charge. Tell your friends and family about this amazing news source. It may open their eyes to a whole new perspective. And in this election year that can change history, show your support by calling 1-866-485-8848 or go online to linktv.org and make that donation now. You're already watching Link, so I know you value what we bring: freedom of speech and the power of uncensored information. Thank you for your support and for making Mosaic part of your life.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.